My question is to the Premier. Speaker, the London Brewing Cooperative is a business in my community. The owners have always wanted to provide dental coverage for their workers. They've investigated group plans, but the cost has simply been too prohibitive. The London Brewing Cooperative is a good employer. The owners give back to their community, and they want to do the right thing by the people who count on them. Speaker, why hasn't the Premier helped the London Brewing Cooperative offer their workers dental coverage over her 15 years in office?
Well, Mr. Speaker, you know, as we have said a number of times, we recognize that there is a need for more dental care in this province. Just period. There is more need for dental care in this province. I would suggest there's more need for dental care across the country, Mr. Speaker, because when Medicare was instituted in the 60s, it did not include pharmacare, it did not include dental care, and so it has fallen to provincial governments to put in place supports, which we have been doing, Mr. Speaker, and we recognize that there is more that needs to be done. We have implemented the Healthy Smiles program, Mr. Speaker. There are hundreds of thousands of children across the province who get that support, Mr. Speaker, but we recognize that there is more that we have to do. And I understand that the third party has recently discovered this as an issue, because if we look at their platforms, Mr. Speaker, and when I sat down with their leader, Andrea Horwath, when I became the Premier, Mr. Speaker, there was no mention of this. There was no hint that this was an issue that they saw was a problem. We've been working on it, Mr. Speaker. We'll continue to work on it.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, one of the owners, Aaron, said that the NDP plan, Dental Care for Everyone, would mean that they could finally offer employee dental coverage and really compete for the best talent out there. Dental coverage for their employees will help them grow their business and put more money in the pockets of their workers. In their 15 years in office, Speaker, why hasn't this Liberal government made it easier for employers to offer dental benefits to their staff?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I said in my last answer, we recognize that there's more that we need to do, and I think that you know, the NDP is now at this point chiming into the conversation, and they have brought some ideas forward. I think that what they're bringing forward are interesting ideas, Mr. Speaker, and we need to look at how we can provide more support. The fact is, we have been working on this. We have implemented the Healthy Smiles program. We have grown that program, Mr. Speaker. But I will be the first to say that there is more that we need to do, and that is in the context, Mr. Speaker, of understanding that there are needs. And it goes back to a question that the Conservatives asked earlier, Mr. Speaker, and that is, you know, what are our plans in the budget? We have been very clear, Mr. Speaker. We recognize that there are more supports that are needed so that people can care for themselves and care for their families, whether that's in the area of mental health, health care in general, Mr. Speaker, or education. We are putting those supports in place as we have done for a number of years.
Thank you. Final supplementary.
Speaker, last week this Premier made one desperate announcement after another. People know that the current healthcare crisis is because this Liberal government...
Stop the clock. Minister of Economic Development is warned. Finish, please.
People know that the current healthcare crisis is because this Liberal government has been cutting healthcare spending for years. What the Liberals are now offering is too little too late. The problems today are big because they have been ignored by this Liberal government for the last 15 years. After a decade and a half, why are families like Pamela's unable to get the dental care their kids need? Why are businesses like the London Brewing Cooperative unable to offer their employees dental benefits even though they want to? Speaker, why is it now, just 72 days before the election, that the Premier is making these promises when she has had 15 years to deliver?
15 years.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I am happy to talk about the past, if that's what the NDP wants to talk about, Mr. Speaker, because For many years, we have been implementing supports in this province, making changes, whether it's full-day kindergarten, Mr. Speaker, whether it is advocating for retirement security enhancement, which is now in place across the country, Mr. Speaker, whether it's free tuition, Mr. Speaker. We have been working to put supports in place to respond to the people of Ontario. And, Mr. Speaker, in terms of what was happening last week, we're in the run-up to a budget. And every year when there is a budget, Mr. Speaker, we work to make sure that people in the province know what it is we are about and what we are putting on the table, Mr. Speaker. And what we are saying is there's a need for more money for mental health supports. There's a need for more money for hospitals. There's a need for more money for special education. What I hear from the third party, Mr. Speaker, is they're going to vote against all of it.
Thank you.